Hello everybody, my name is Avalon and I'm going to go through a Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time randomizer today. I'll leave the link into the randomizer site below, but apparently we're starting in the Lost Woods today, so that should be interesting. The latest update of the randomizer allows you to change your start location and stuff like that as well, so it's quite cool. But we're going to make our way forward through this, and I thought I'd pick Ocarina of Time because it's a game that, you know, most people know pretty well, and it gives us an opportunity to talk about something else I wanted to talk about for a while. So, as with all Legend of Zelda randomizers, first place I'm heading to is the Great Midu's house. If I can avoid that, that'd be lovely, because 4 free chests straight off the mark. So we'll have a quick look. Rupees, lane. Ooh, nice early strength upgrade. That actually matters quite a lot as an adult. More rupees, that's actually a decent number of rupees. Piece of that, yeah. I mean, it's useful, but it's not the best thing. So, whilst I was playing about this, I should warn you in advance, this is not scripted, not planned, it's just going to be a complete ramble as to what we talk about here. And, you know, I was looking to talk about... Ooh, a scale. What was I looking to talk about? I was looking to talk about a few bits and bobs, including Metroidvanias, something that me and my friends have been talking about for a while now. And, you know, it's an interesting topic because the whole concept of Metroidvania is obviously pretty... I mean, it appears to be pretty simple. You know when you're playing a Metroidvania. But there's actually a lot of nuance going into it at the moment, and a lot of people sort of arguing over whether X is a Metroidvania or Y is a Metroidvania. I mean, most recently, I've seen people be arguing about the Star Wars game, Last Jedi Fallen Order. Oh, the bow already! Oh, wow. That's huge. But I'm just going to grind rupees and grab that scale. I want this to give me Deku nuts, to be honest, so apparently that is not the way to do it, though. Come on, buddy. Just because I want to get the animation out of the way. Yeah, so, you know, the definition of Metroidvania is well, currently anyway, an ability-gated... instead of key-gated sort of exploration of a continuous map. So although there are some games that do have ability-gated progression, they are often linked into levels and stuff. So think about, for example, Spyro. You know, there are clear, defined levels that you go into through a hub world. As you unlock new abilities, you gain new areas in the hub world, but there is a hub world, there is still clear, defined levels. But this is where some of the conversation comes around, because obviously ukulele is a good example of that, for instance, as well. You can't explore the hub world until you've done X, Y, and Z through the various levels that you can collect items from and abilities from Trowser, the god snake. And if you got rid of the hub world and made like a transition, because ukulele already has sort of transitions as you reach the books, you know, at what point does it become a hub world and not just a door? If they change the books for like a door to the outside world, for example, would that be a Metroidvania then? So, you know, you can see where the conversation comes from, and there's a lot of discussion over what is right and what is not right, and this is a long... Wow, that took ages to load the pause menu. Wow. Straight back in though. And yeah, it's just a conversation that we've been having recently, and like I said, Jedi Fallen Order has really opened that conversation. And it really does sort of give you questions about games like, for example, Batman. The Arkham series specifically, because it's one big city. And as you gain new Batman gadgets and stuff, you unlock new parts of the city that you can explore. Don't know why I'm going in here. I haven't got what I need. Oh, it's Lord Jubby Jubby's belly. Well, either way, I need the hook shot, so I don't know what I'm doing. Ooh, this close. Yeah, so there are people that consider Batman the Arkham series as Metroidvanias, and I can't really argue their point. And it's just a bit of a wishy-washy definition. So, you know, there's also a big conversation about whether 3D games can be Metroidvanias or not, and just to get my opinion on that straight out the way, yes, they can. You know, Metroidvanias, they're from the Castlevania and Metroid series, and you can't deny that Metroid, therefore, is a Metroidvania, as it is one of the parents of the genre. So then you have to ask yourself, you know, is Metroid Prime therefore a Metroidvania? And I'd argue yes. You know, again, it's part of the parent of the series, and I'd go to say that Ocarina of Time is similar. You know, it is one continuous map. There are loading zones, obviously, between various zones in the map, but it is one continuous map. So I think it's an interesting conversation, and I'm not going to try and, you know, change your opinion on it. If you don't agree with me, then grand, let me know, and we'll have a conversation about it. But there are some things that just seem to fall into that category naturally, and you absolutely know that they are that, and there's some things that just don't seem to do that at all. I mean, take for example Hollow Knight. It is clearly and undeniably designed to be a Metroidvania, and it is one continuous map with ability gated progression. But then you take into example say Majora's Mask. There is a hub world, technically. There's the Clock Town, where I appreciate that you can take any exit out of Clock Town and then go anywhere, but the world is clearly divided into 4 levels, and you can't access the next level until you've beaten the one before it. Well, at least got the item from the one before, because technically you could get the bow, restart time, go and get the fire arrows, restart time, go and get the ice arrows, restart time, and then go and do the canyon stuff before, you know, finishing the first temple in the swamp. But, I mean, it'd be pointless to do, I suppose. I'm actually going to just save state because I'm really bad at this game. Oh, I don't have 20 rupees, that doesn't matter. Oh, I can be as bad as I like. We'll just get straight back out there. We'll go do Dampy's race then while we're here. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, and you know, a lot of people, they bring up the idea of linearity between Metroid games, and you know, I feel like the Zelda series is a prime example of that, excluding Breath of the Wild, where you know, it's very clear that the Zelda series is designed with a linear progression in path, especially if you look at, for example, Twilight Princess. I know there's the arguments that you can do dungeons out of order and whatever, but I'm going to save here as well because I can't do this in less than a minute. You know, you can do dungeons out of order and stuff. It's like, yeah, great, who cares? When it's one dungeon or whatever. People talk about A Link to the Past a lot as if it's got like this huge amount of player agency. It just doesn't. It just doesn't have this huge agency people talk about, and you know, they say you can do this dungeon before that dungeon, or that dungeon before this dungeon, or whatever, as if like it gives you this huge amount of player choice, when in actuality it just doesn't. If we're honest, it just doesn't give you that choice. I've just realised this is a terrible idea, because it's gonna block me in. I don't have the Ocarina of Time, I have the Song of Time, so I don't know how many I have to save when we start the console, I guess. Oh well. But yeah, back to my point, you know, Ocarina of Time, technically, you can do the temples out of order if you really want to, but I'd say it's more developer oversight than actual planned linearity. And I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to argue that point, you know. But I mean, mean, that's just me, I guess. It's too slow. Yeah, I was too slow. Let's see what this is. Oh, handy. Well, we'll run it again, see if we can do it in under a minute. It's hard to run this in a normal situation, let alone when you're trying to moan about linearity and Metroidvanias. But yeah, I don't think that the linearity is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you look at Twilight Princess from the Zelda series, since we're playing Zelda, we'll talk about that a lot. I don't think anyone can deny it's got one of the best storylines going from a Metroidvania style game. And that's just because they force that linearity. When you take away the linearity, you get horrendously bad story progression and potentially poor pacing. You know, I'm looking at you, Breath of the Wild. And yeah, it's just a very open and honest discussion about that sort of stuff that needs to be had at some point. From a game dev point of view, Breath of the Wild 2 in development or making its way towards us, how similar to Breath of the Wild 1 are they going to go? I know there are fans of Breath of the Wild 1, and, you know, do you? Ooh, does that count? Does that count? Hey, got the bottle. Oh, it's Ruto's Lesser. Handy. So, I don't think that means I can say I've got the bottle until I've become a child and gone and cleared it out, so, you know. Right, we'll do a quick save and reset. It'll become more and more clear as I ramble about Metroidvanias and Legend of Zelda and similar as to how little I like Breath of the Wild. But, you know, linearity can be done in Metroidvanias. Look at Hollow Knight, for example. It's a great example of, you know, it's got the early stage where it kind of handholds you. You get your soul burst thing. You get the Mantis Claw, and, you know, it's not instant unlock for everything. Oh, I just want to go back in the way I came, don't I? But then once you kind of got the double jump, the wall climb, and your basic soul ability, then you kind of can go wherever you want. You know, it really opens the game up quite significantly, which I think is cool. It gives you complete options into whether you want to go and do, I don't know, the Watcher or, you know, the other sleeping dreamers and sleepers. You know, it gives you the option to play it how you want to play it, which is awesome. And in such, they had to have a game that allowed storytelling to support this style of gameplay. So they chose to do a Ruined Kingdom, which is similar to what Breath of the Wild did. But, you know, I appreciate I keep talking about Breath of the Wild. I just want to clarify here and now, I do not think Breath of the Wild's a Metroidvania, and maybe isn't relevant to this conversation so much, but, you know, that's a whole different conversation. The point is what is a Metroidvania? And for me anyway, it's anything where, you know, if I had all of the abilities at the start of the game, then I could just go anywhere. And that for me is why I can quite happily cut games like Yooka-Laylee out, for example, without any sort of second thought. You know, I don't think you could even begin to try and argue with me on the fact that Yooka-Laylee, if you started with all of your abilities, you wouldn't be able to just go to the end of the game and finish it. But the point is you don't start with all of those abilities. You have to unlock them bit by bit, which is why games like Breath of the Wild, which, again, you could absolutely just go straight to the end if you wanted to, and I know that the speedrunning community are looking for faster and faster ways to do that. So, yeah, my definition's quite fluid, I guess. 3D, 2D doesn't matter to me. I think that we should kind of celebrate more 2D games, 3D games, sorry. There's one recently that I was looking at called Dream Watcher. I was actually going to do this series playing Dream Watcher, but I opened it and I just couldn't concentrate. It's a game that I haven't played before. It's a game that isn't particularly well known, so a lot of people wouldn't know where we stand with it, and I just figured that it'd be easier just to go straight into a game that everyone knows, and we can all just happily have an open discussion whilst playing, you know, from gameplay that we hopefully recognise. I think randomizers really open up Metroidvanias, though. They make you think about games that maybe you know perfectly in a completely new way. And that's why I like them so much, you know. I do like a good randomizer. If you look at the Metroid series, they've got some great randomizers there. Yeah, the Metroidvania series got some really good randomizers going on there. What's that? Slingshot. Metroid 2 was actually my first Metroid game that I ever played, and then Metroid 1 I played after, but the randomizers for Metroid 1 I'd say are probably... is better the right word? I don't want to say better. I'd say the randomizers for Metroid 1 are more complete, I guess. I suppose it was a more popular game given the console it came out on. I actually, ironically, played Metroid 2 before any other Metroidvania style game at all, including any of the Zelda series. Actually, I played the first Legend of Zelda game I played was A Link to the Past, which I think is another great example of why linear gameplay is good, because it allows difficulty in the dungeons to kind of grow. But I'll talk more about progression and difficulty probably later in this series. I'm supposed to be just defining what I think a Metroidvania is, so that I can just sort of, you know, have some consistency across the series as I go, sort of thing. So yeah, I guess that my like I said, my feeling of being able to visit anywhere if you had all of the items is probably the key. Ooh, that was some sweet recovery there. Might not have needed to make the recovery because I can't get it anyway. Just step out here a little bit. No, I've got nothing really to pick this up with, so what do you reckon? There we go, look at that. There we go, awesome. I've again completely lost my trail of thought because I got distracted by that Skulltula, and this is you know, there's going to be a lot of that as we go through this series together, because it's hard to think about two things, and you know, I really fall into that male stereotype of lacking the ability to multitask. So it's going to be fun. Now, I think I still need the claim check to actually do this. So I don't know how far into this. I haven't got enough rupees anyway, so I'm not bothered. I like these big boy Gorons. They're just huge hulking beasts. I think they add a nice little bit of lore to the Gorons. Super. So does he give you anything? Ah, no. What does hint give me though? Because I know that I can go to Death Mountain Crater and get some stuff. They say that a green rectangle can be found at Death Mountain. What? A green rectangle? I have no idea what that's referencing. This maybe it's Feral's Wind? I don't know. What a weird thing. But yeah, so Metroidvanias kind of fit really well into randomizers, because when you have a game that you love and you play like all the time, for example, Ocarina of Time for so many people, you begin to learn the world that the game's in quite effectively. You begin to learn all about where everything is and how everything connects and all that sort of stuff. And it allows you to really revisit games with a new level of appreciation, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna go and see what's in Dodongo's cabin, and then I think we'll take a wee break. I was supposed to obviously, like I say, define what I think a Metroidvania is, and as stated, I personally think that it's a game that has a continuous world that you can visit anywhere with, providing you have the abilities. There's no like forced level progression. Like in collectathons, for example, you've got to collect X, Y, Z to get to the next point or whatever, and that sort of stuff. But also that you must have the abilities gated to you. You can't just have all of the abilities and then just go and explore it, because for me that then becomes an open world exploration game, which is something completely different to what we're playing here. And then the reason the randomizer is so great is because it just gives an old game a nice fresh lick of paint. And we'll be continuing that lick of paint next time.